Every new author has a story to claim. Sit back, listen to conversation between Terry Lynn and new authors on the rise, and let the journey begin.
Hello, friends. Welcome to my podcast, Conversations Between Terry Lynn and New Authors. On this episode, I'm talking with Miss Larissa. She writes strange fiction. Welcome, Miss Larissa.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Please tell us about your writing and your first book.
Well, my first book has yet to be published. I only started doing creative writing again a year ago after a very long hiatus of technical writing. And so my first book is not strictly narrative in the traditional sense. What it is a series of short stories which, upon first reading, do not appear to be related. But essentially, what they are doing is illustrating the negative space around a central concept, which is a very dangerous thing, and I'm still thinking about just how much I want to reveal in the final chapter.
I enjoy a book with short stories.
Me too. I absolutely love anthologies of short stories. May I share a couple of my inspirations?
Yes, please do.
All right, so one of my biggest ones is Alfred Hitchcock. When he was making movies, he had people scouring the world for him, finding short stories by all sorts of authors. And of course, he couldn't make all of the stories into movies because it's much harder to make a movie than it is to write a story. So he would collect anthologies of these short stories. And so when I was in school and I was supposed to be in the library studying calculus or reading up on biochemistry, I would go to the shelf with the Alfred Hitchcock anthologies, I had its location memorized, and read them, which was wonderful. And then more recently, I read a book called Lovecraft Country, which is one coherent story, but every chapter is spoken from a different person's point of view. So I didn't do it on purpose, but my brain just started clanking along in this sort of unconventional point of view.
I like reading books that are written from different perspectives. What inspired you to write books?
Books that I read when I was a child.
What challenges have you faced as a new author, especially when it comes to publishing or marketing your book?
Just knowing where to start, knowing where to look, knowing what to do first. Should I get an agent first? Should I finish the whole book first? Should I finish one chapter? Where are the agents? Do I need a website? Do I not? Do I need a special email? Do I not? And so it was really marvelous when I went to the Women in Publishing Summit and they provided so many resources for starting places. And it was also lovely to meet so many people willing to support new authors and to find out there is not a place to start. Just start. And what really rocked my world, what really blew my mind, was the thought that you can apply for awards for your writing before it's published. And then that's a hook that you can use to publish. Hey, my writing won this award. So that was a big surprise and a very good thing to know.
Yeah, I didn't know that we could apply for awards for our books before we publish them either.
What was your favorite book as a child, and do you think it influenced your writing style today?
I think almost certainly it did. My favorite books to read when I was very little were the Ant and Bee books, and the thing that I liked about them was that they were told from both Ant and Bee's perspectives. Both of them had conversations, and I remember sitting with my father, uh, each of us taking Ant or Bee's part and reading them to each other. And this, I think, almost certainly did inform some of the perspective in my books, where it's not one person going through the whole story and you get the whole story from one person's POV. I'm showing a story from several points of view, which is a thing I didn't really think about until your question, which reminded me of Ant and Bee. And I was like, oh, yeah, I like multiple points of view. And I never really thought about how very young I learned it.
I'll have to look these books up.
Highly recommend. It's kind of one of those crazy things where you have a thing you had when you were little and you thought everybody had the Ant and Bee books, but then you grow up and find and people say, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I haven't heard of the Ant and Bee books.
I highly recommend, though, if you do have children, the Ant and Bee books because of that conversational format that they have. Instead of just your kids sitting and listening and you talking, the Ant and Bee books draw both of you in, and they're easy to understand, easy to speak, but they definitely strongly encourage participation.
What age group do you write for, and what draws you to that specific audience?
I'd like to say I write for an age group, but I'm not sure I really do. This goes particularly when I meet some of my cousins, and I thought I was a big deal for me reading Mary Renault's books about historical fiction about the Bronze Age Greece when I was, 9 years old. Ooh, I think I was too young. Then I find out that my cousin, her father read them to her when she was 6, and she's reading them now to her 5-year-old, and I'm thinking, wait, what? And but then I turn around and I find myself reading now books that were sort of on the children's shelf, like Spooky Lakes, and really enjoying them when my little cousins are like, meh. So I understand how genre is useful in a bookstore if you have a mood you're trying if you a mood you're trying to feed and you have a particular shelf you go for because you want a mystery, you want a thriller, you want a romance, you want some historical fiction. But I also think that the muses laugh at you if you say, I'm writing for the 18 to 25-year-old market. Nima Saini herself will come along and say, ha ha, I'm going to give your book to some 5-year-olds and they're going to love it. So forgive me, that was a complete non-answer to your question.
It's all right. It's a neat, unique way to think about your audience.
Are there any books or authors that inspired your writing style or love for storytelling?
Well, I have to go back to Alfred Hitchcock again. He chose some of the best stories to turn into cinema, and some of them, like Rebecca, he transliterated to the screen almost word for word. And Daphne du Maurier's writings are really marvelous. I love her almost supernatural, or perhaps a better word would be metanatural mood, where you're not sure if supernatural things are happening or not. It's not clear what's going on, but you never get so enraged by the unanswered questions that you storm out. You still hunger for them. Like you hunger for the questions, even if you don't get the answers. And and then you go to Alfred Hitchcock's transliteration to the screen of The Birds. If you read the original short story of The Birds, it's completely different from the movie. So what Mr. Hitchcock did was take the central concept of the birds. What happens if birds suddenly get mad at people and start attacking them no matter what? Let's take it out of a quaint little English village and put it in San Francisco with a spoiled heiress and see what happens. I love that idea, especially when it comes to transliteration to screenplays, because sometimes something that's very compelling in a written story is ridiculous on a screen.
I like Alfred Hitchcock too.
What do you think makes a book truly memorable?
Well, first of all, the characters must be relatable. There must be an emotional connection for you in the book. If you read the book and you just hate everybody, or you find everyone is just cardboard on paper on charcoal on paper, you're like, oh, this is ridiculous. I'm out of here. This is silly. No one would ever do this. So you've got to have some relatable entree into the story. And in addition to which, the author must stimulate your appetite. There must be something in that story for which you hunger, that you continue to seek for. And sometimes it's the answer to a question, like in Twin Peaks, who killed her? What happened? And sometimes it's, oh, is he Prince Charming or is he Mr. Dastardly? And sometimes it's the big wedding, yay! And they all lived happily ever after. And sometimes it's, yay, Theseus conquered Naxos and married an Amazon and became king. So there's got to be something in the story that you hunger for. It can't just be a pleasing setting. There has to be a note of unsatisfied desire.
Yes, the characters make the book worth reading.
Yes, I completely agree with that. There are some books where I read particular chapters over and over again just because I like the characters and I like the setting. And here I am contradicting myself. I don't want to finish the book. I don't want to get the story to resolution. I just want to read this chapter with this tea party where everybody is passive aggressively sniping at each other and wearing beautiful hats.
Do you have any advice for other aspiring authors who are just starting out?
I do actually. I regret that I cannot remember the name of the book, which is ridiculous because I actually used to use it when I used to teach. Technically, I taught MS Office to, people over the summer back in the day, but the classroom we taught in, the power grid was not reliable, which is hilarious because the book was excuse me, not the book, the building was actually an outbuilding of the local power company. And so the power was always going out because the power company was always experimenting with new equipment. And so the power would go out blammo like that. And there I would be trying to teach Excel and Word to children, over the summer, and their parents are mad because they expect their children to come out of, 1 week of training as advanced spreadsheet experts. And you can't teach Excel if the power is off. So what I used to do is I had this book on creative writing, and I'm so embarrassed that I cannot remember the name of it. I've bought 50 of them. But it had creative writing exercises, and one of the best ones for any age group is to say, okay, sit down and write a list of 10 things that you know are not true. Like every mountain everywhere is hot pink and sings opera arias while baking cookies. Write down 10 of those because that's a really good way to start to work your muscles, not merely their strength, but their flexibility. It's like Tai Chi for your imagination.
That's interesting advice to write 10 things you know are definitely wrong.
The kids loved it. I mean, the teenagers were like, this is great because you grow up in school and it's all about get it right, get it right, get it right, get it accurate, get it right, do it right. This is right and this is wrong. And so it's like a volcano in your mind exploding when suddenly the directive is write things you know are not true. The bigger the better, the more untrue the better. And, if I were to prescribe a daily writing exercise to someone, I would say once per day, write down one thing that is definitely not true.
I can see how that writing exercise would be fun for kids.
What exciting projects or books are you working on next?
Well, in addition to the round of short stories that I'm doing, I am also writing a couple of screenplays. One of them is inspired by some friends of mine who got married in the Caribbean. And so what I did is I took their wedding and the setting, like of all of us being on the same plane together, going to the Caribbean setting, and I plugged a few more elements into it. Instead of them getting married at a beautiful hotel in a gorgeous uh, Caribbean city like they actually did, I'm setting the wedding in a grim, forbidding fortress, which has been converted into a wedding venue. And so I'm having a great time with it because the trouble is that it's a wedding, but there's been a but everybody at the wedding is in costume. There could be anything going on around here. Plus, it's a grim, forbidding fortress with secret passages and blind alleys and undocumented nooks and rooms. So I am arguably with that one taking it easy on myself because it's very easy to make things happen at a wedding because weddings are chaos, people coming and going, and things happening all over the place. And you're like, I need someone to walk into the room right now. Okay, another waiter with a tray of champagne. And so that's my kind of gimme easy project. Having a lot of fun with that. I'm actually talking to the people whose wedding inspired it, and they are so into it. We're getting ready to all write it together. It's a ton of fun. And now, brace yourself, I'm going to depress you. I'm also thinking about, I haven't really started yet, but I'm kind of outlining a trilogy of female agents who were deployed by the SOE, the Special Operations Executive in the Second World War. And the through line for that is all of them had cryptographic training with Leo Marx, and their characters were very profoundly described in his book, Between Silk and Cyanide. And all of them, unfortunately, met gruesome ends. But I was thinking there's three of them who are very well illustrated in his books and whose narratives are relatively well documented. So I was thinking of making out a trilogy of their stories, none of which end well. Spoiler alert.
Where can people find you online and follow your journey?
So I think what I'm going to do next is just start over. I'm also a voice actor in addition to writing. I've been a voice actor for ages. I've only just started writing. So I think what I will probably do is start myself up a nice, fresh, new YouTube channel. I'm thinking of naming it after my fireplace. I have a beautiful gray stone fireplace, and so what I was thinking of doing was doing some reading of maybe some Agatha Christie with the fireplace in the background, and then maybe do some reading of my own original fiction with the fireplace in the background. So, yeah, it's not set up yet, but I'm working on it. I've got buying all the stuff I need over at Network Solutions. And so the Greystone fireplace will be where to find me.
Thank you, Miss Larissa, for your information. I will put the link to your YouTube channel in this episode's notes below. Thank you, Miss Larissa, for talking with me on my podcast, Conversations Between Terry Lynn and New Authors on the Rise.
Thank you very much, Terry, for having me. This has been a lot of fun. And thank you for the questions you asked. You have brought thoughts to my mind that I hadn't consciously thought about in years and years.
Hey, my listeners, tune in next week when I talk with my friend who's a children's book author. Until then, happy reading with your kiddos.